The ego of the government clerk, Shervakov. The lack of fineness is inbuilt in the name itself. One fine evening, the equally fine government clerk, Chekhov, is actually questioning society, its norms, its culture in entirety. Peasants sneeze, police superintendents sneezed, and sometimes even privy councillors sneeze. Everybody sneezes because it's a bodily thing. We do not mind what the body does, but we do mind what the general is not particularly interested in the apology. Maybe this guy, Shervakov, didn't actually cuff at the old man's head. But Chekhov has not just cuffed, but actually spat at the face of middle class morality. The general does mind. He says, now you are making fun of me, and disappeared behind the door. There is no making fun in it, thought Shervakov. He's a general, but get out. Here's the general, suddenly turning purple and shaking all over. What? Asked Shervakov in a whisper, faint with terror. The ego is the patient, but the one treated is the... Remove the ego, and most hospitals would run out of business. How many of us have gone through the reading? Good. All right. Death of a government clerk. One fine evening, the equally fine government clerk, so that's already a satire on the popular notion of fineness. When we say, oh, what a fine morning or fine evening, their fineness is only as much and only of the quality of the fineness of this particular clerk. So, and his name, very name, Shervakov. The lack of fineness is inbuilt in the name itself. The major part of his name means worm in Russian. Shervi. That denotes worm. So that's the kind of fineness Chekhov has given even to the name of the central character. And since the society is made of characters like the one here, that's why by putting the spotlight on this character, Chekhov is actually questioning society, its norms, its culture in entirety. And that puts the satire on fineness in perspective. Right? What this culture calls as fine is only as fine as the state of this clerk here, this spineless crawling creature with wormness built into not just his being, but also made explicit in his name. So this one is sitting in the second row of the stalls of the theatre, looking through his opera glass at the bells of Cornwall. He was looking and feeling the acme of bliss. Another satire. Blissful. And we'll see what that bliss translates into very soon. But suddenly in stories one so often meets with this but suddenly that's again a commentary on what appears as sudden. There is nothing sudden. What you see as erupting suddenly is actually the fiber of the fabric. The fabric is visible, and we keep claiming the fiber is not. And when that one strand, that one fiber becomes visible, we call it a sudden event. No, it is not a sudden event. It was there all the time. In fact, what you are seeing as the normal continuity is nothing but the shocking thing made regular and palatable. Because it has been made regular, therefore it ceases to attract your attention or alarm. You feel it's commonplace. Therefore, nothing shocking, nothing alarming about it. But when the structure of the fabric disintegrates and the fibers expose themselves, then you say, oh, something sudden has happened. No, there is nothing sudden in it. It was the same foundation, the same constituent, the same ingredient, the same atoms, all the while. Getting it? But suddenly, and then he elaborates, in stories one so often meets with this but suddenly. The authors are right. Life is so full of suddenness. Life is full of suddenness only because we wait to be shocked. We do not look at the obvious till it kicks us in the face, in the teeth. And then we say, oh, something totally unexpected has happened, and I am shocked and disturbed. You waited for the eruption. The volcano was simmering continuously. The ego is adept at self-deception and ignoring the obvious. For as long as facts can be held at bay, the ego would do that. Only when it becomes absolutely impossible to turn your face away, to close your eyes to the obvious, will the ego acknowledge the reality, and then it will call that reality not as a continuity but as an event. An event. It will not say it's been a continuation, it will say it's an eruption. It just happened. No, it didn't happen. It is the happening. It didn't happen. It is just the happening. Applies to everybody because this is Chekhov's masterclass on how the submissive and suppressed middle class ego operates. The ego of the government clerk. But suddenly his face puckered up, his eyes rolled, his breath was arrested. Something has happened. Suddenly. He took the opera glass from his eyes, bent forward, and achoo, He sneezed. He sneezed. As you perceive. Look at the understated, straight-faced humor. Sneezing is not forbidden to anyone anywhere. Peasants sneeze, police superintendents sneezed, and sometimes even private councillors sneeze. Everybody sneezes. Everybody sneezes. Because it's a bodily thing. It's a bodily thing. Nothing to do with the status of the ego. Just as everybody breathes, everybody sneezes. Now, Shervikov felt no embarrassment, wiped his nose with his handkerchief, and, as a polite man, looked around him to see whether he had disturbed anyone by his sneeze. Simple, so far. But now he had to feel embarrassed. He saw that an old gentleman who was sitting in front of him in the first row of the stalls was carefully wiping his bald head and neck with his glove and muttering something. And these things happen. One doesn't deliberately do that, right? One doesn't summon a sneeze, and one can't exactly control what blows out. Now comes something that is not bodily. What's happened so far is bodily and therefore systematic and therefore uncontrollable, and now something beyond the body is happening. In the old gentleman, Shervikov recognized General Brizalov. General Brizalov, who was serving in the Department of Transport. I have spattered him. Now, this is not the body speaking. This is the ego speaking. I have spattered him, thought Shervikov. He is not my superior, of course, in another department, but still it is awkward. I must apologize. Shervikov leaned forward and, coughing politely, whispered in the general's ear, "Excuse me, Your Excellency, I spattered you. I didn't mean to." And the general just casually says, "Never mind, never mind." The general is not particularly interested in the apology. This one says, "For God's sake, excuse me, I didn't mean to." A little extra polite. Oh, do sit down. Let me listen. This one is more interested in the opera. Shervikov felt confused. He smiled stupidly and began looking at the stage. He looked but no longer felt bliss. So that's a commentary on the quality of the thing called bliss we claim to experience. What kind of bliss is this that can be interrupted by a mere sneeze and some spattering on somebody's bald head? This surely is not bliss of any kind. So that's the middle class bliss. That's the suppressed man's bliss. That's the ignorant man's bliss. That's the general flavor of happiness we find all around. When somebody says, "Oh, I'm so happy," in 1 second the happiness can be gone. So don't trust them when they say they are happy. Also don't trust them when they are very sad. The ego has no depth. It only has dualistic swings. This side to that side, horizontally, never vertically. The ego has no depth. It can move from happiness to sadness in one moment. And both the happiness and sadness remain at the same vertical level, which is superficial. There is movement happening, but no vertical movement, no depth. So happiness is superficial, so is sadness. What depth gives you is not just deep happiness, but also deep sadness. And in that depth, there is joy. Irrespective of whether the depth is of happiness or sadness, what matters is the depth, not the accompanying feeling. Do you get this? And would sound strange to hear, but even in depths of sorrow, there is joy. Because what is joy? The disappearance of ego. The ego cannot experience anything deeply, because depth would imply truth, and truth would imply disappearance of ego. Therefore, the ego is always scared of depths. Such a shallow thing. Of course, one kind of understands when one is afraid of deep sadness. But it's interesting that the ego is afraid even of deep happiness. The ego is afraid even of deep happiness, not because of happiness, but because of depth. Depth is death for the ego. Depth is death. So the commoner, the common man on the street, can't even be deeply happy. Even their happiness has a very clear, well-defined, socially defined limit. You try to be happier than that and you'll be censored. Go to some place you are supposed to be happy. A festival or something, some gathering, something nice has happened supposedly. You go there. You're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be happy. What if you become outrageously happy? You'll be thrown out. You become limitlessly happy. You become unstoppably happy, and they'll throw you out. So somebody has just had a son. You go there and you become infinitely happy. And they'll be scared. They'll beat you up. Because the ego cannot tolerate depth. One of the amusing things we narrate as jokes is when one goes, for example, to a mourning and starts congratulating people. You have seen that in movies, right? That's presented as comedy. And then that fellow is beaten up and thrown on the road with his clothes torn. You have seen that, right? That's the smaller joke. The bigger joke will be you go to a place, somebody has expired, people have gathered to mourn, and you display extreme sadness, you'll be again beaten up. You're not supposed to be even sad beyond a point. You're not supposed to be happy beyond a point. The ego is the fence. Beyond the fence, it gets terrified. You can't do anything beyond a point. You can't even love beyond a point. They complain that you don't love them, right? Don't they? Don't they? Who has heard that complaint? Who has made that complaint? Who has both heard and made that complaint? Come on, each one of us. Who does not want to be loved? Huh? De pyar de. Anybody here? Right? The thing is, if you receive real love, you will be shaken out of your wits. As they say, you'll shit in your pants. That's what real love does. You can't take it. You can't tolerate it. You complain of not receiving love. But if you do get genuine love, you'll run away. Because in depths, the ego is threatened. Therefore, deep love will always threaten the ego. You will never want a true lover. The true lover would be very threatening. What you want is some superficial kind of engagement. Give me flowers, give me roses, give me sweets. Let's procreate. That's all. Finished. In fact, lovers can scarcely stand a deep glance from each other. You look at your partner as if you are seeing through the game and you will be out. You are supposed to look but not look through. You can look at him but not look through him. You look through him and the relationship is gone that moment. She says the same thing. She's all decked up, dolled up, ornamented, nice, ready, sexy for the party. She says, look at me. You look at her, she'll be happy. You look through her, nobody can save you. Not supposed to do that. Supposed to look. The ego revels on the surfaces. At the center, there is a hollow, there is a vacuum. The ego does not want that to be known, not to others, not to itself. The surface is polished and bright. The center is dark and hollow. You get this? And that's the mark of fine or rather great writing. There are layers of meaning. For different kinds of readers. Those who are looking for just the skeletal storyline, they'll have that. Those who are prepared to take depth, there is enough depth for them here. There is juice in every word. There is symbolism in every sentence. Every twist, every turn. The turn of the phrase carries a metaphor. Think this. He looked but no longer felt bliss. And that's an indictment of the common experience of happiness. Your happiness is no happiness at all. Maybe this guy, Shervakov, didn't actually cuff at the old man's head. But Chekhov has not just cuffed, but actually spat at the face of middle class morality. Your happiness is such a terrified happiness. Your happiness is such a baseless happiness. Any small thing, any event can destroy it. You are afraid even when happy. Your happiness means nothing at all. Like everything else about your life, your happiness too is just pretense. You're not happy. You're not happy. I was not brought up in a very outgoing way. So, not many parties, not many social events. Don't remember too many social functions or marriages or anything I was taken to as a schoolboy. So, when I went to the hostel and entering college, there were these parties, booze and all. That's a general ritual, beer stuff. So you're supposed to be there, especially as a fresher. You're not supposed to exercise free will or volition. It's a ritual. You have to be there. So would go there and stopped going there after a couple of visits. So I was asked, the weekdays are already so tough, and on the weekends we have these parties to relax, and the entire campus enjoys them. So why do you skip them? I said, because I don't see any enjoyment there. And that was spontaneous. I have no problems with enjoyment. On the contrary, I want to see genuine enjoyment. And I don't want to go there because, yes, the food is fine, much better compared to the usual mess stuff that we get from Monday to Friday. So, for a change, good food on a Saturday night. And there is liquor of all kinds and some music and dance, and people look relatively relaxed. And somebody would dance, somebody would crack a joke, do whatever you want to do. Basically, it's your night. All that is fine, but I still don't find happiness there. Happiness there. Real happiness is very difficult to find. Very difficult to find. The funny thing is, people accuse you of robbing them of their happiness, when in the first place, they never had any happiness. Acharya Ji, since I have started listening to you, the happiness in my family is gone. As if you had any. As if what you had was a pretense, and that's what I have taken away. What you had was deception, and that's what I have taken away. Had you had any happiness, nobody could have taken it away. And the Gita is the last thing that would take somebody's happiness away. What the Gita does take away is pretense. And that's what we have. Pretense of happiness and pretense of sorrow. Nothing real. Even your tears are not real. Fake laughter, fake tears. Compassion is about addressing the fakeness. Mercy is about addressing the tears. Somebody is shedding fake tears. Mercy addresses the tears. Compassion addresses the fakeness. Fake tears. Somebody is in their display of sorrow. They are shedding fake tears. Mercy would address the tear. Fake tears, fake tears. Mercy would address the tears. Compassion would address the fakeness. There's a huge difference. Do you get this? So when you are shedding fake tears and you find a Buddha coming to you to relieve you, he's not coming to relieve you of your tears. Complete. He's coming to relieve you of your tears. You misunderstand him, and that's why you respect him. And by the time you realize, it's too late. You're standing here shedding fake tears, and you find him coming to you saying, oh, it's so bad, it's so bad. You believe your propaganda has succeeded on him. You believe he too has been taken in by your tears, by your display. So you think, see, I was shedding fake tears and he too got convinced. So he is coming me to relieve me of my... Yes. He is obviously coming to relieve you of something. But not your... Yes. He is coming to relieve you of your... Yes. And when you discover that it's either too late... Complete? Complete? Okay. Try to complete. It's either too late or in your seeing is his success. If you can really see what the Buddha is out to do to you, he has already succeeded. The entire problem throughout history has been you have never been able to know what a Buddha is trying to do to you. If you can actually see what he is trying to do to you, he has already succeeded. You either keep thinking that he is coming to you to wipe your tears, or you keep thinking that he is some charlatan coming to rob you, loot you. Either way, you are mistaking him. If you think that he is merciful and kind towards you and that's why he's coming to you with a thick and big handkerchief, you are mistaken. He knows your tears are fake. How can he have any real feeling for your tears? No, it's not your tears that bother him. It's your fakeness that bothers him. Even in your moment of sorrow, you are still fake. And that's very, very terrifying. How many of you have seen fake sorrow? Please tell me. How many of you have faked sorrow? Now please tell me. So it was like this and then I said it became this. Yes, our sorrow is fake. Even by a dead body, the sorrow is fake. The corpse is lying there. The family and the friends are all weeping, drowning in tears. The local MP or MLA visits. See how the mood changes. See how the attention shifts. See how the gaze shifts. Even the sorrow was fickle. No depth in anything. Nothing. Even depth in sorrow is transformative. If you can allow yourself to be absolutely shattered, you'll be liberated. No. We don't allow sorrow to penetrate us that deeply because that kind of sorrow can be experienced only existentially. That kind of sorrow cannot be about losing an object. That kind of sorrow has to be about the fakeness, the acknowledged fakeness of the subject itself. You lose an object, you are still there. So you cannot be sad beyond a point, because you might have lost an object, but you are still there. So you cannot be sad beyond a point. Real sadness is when you find that you have lost yourself. And that is liberation. If not liberation, that is liberatory. We don't have any deep sorrow. And the Buddha will see that. And if you happen to detect that he has seen through your fake sorrow, you will not forgive him, would you? Because the entire game was to convince the other that you are genuinely sad. Weep, weep, weep. And here is something, okay. Can you forgive me? No, you cannot. You cannot. Your entire labor has come to a naught. So much was done. Like a proficient and hard-working actor to move the audience. And the actor has done as much as he can on the stage. All his tricks, tactics, maneuvers, skills, everything he has displayed. And the audience is Will this actor forgive the audience? That's why it's very, very difficult to forgive a Krishna or Ashtavakra or a Kabir or a Buddha. You cannot forgive them because they don't buy your drama. You love only those who buy your drama, not those who tell you jhoothe ke ghar jhootha aaya. How can you forgive such a person? He is calling everything as false and fake. My love, my care, my entire world, my baby, everything is fake. Can you forgive this person? You cannot. So how do we extract our revenge? By distorting them. That's our final revenge. Look at the distorted way of extracting your revenge. The distorted way is to distort what they have said. So the Gita will be distorted. All that the knowers, the sages, the thinkers have said will be distorted in their interpretation. That's our way of taking revenge. Do you get this? We don't exist. We are like activity on the surface of existence. Seen a pond, small pond. When it's windy, even that small pond experiences little ripples. Not waves really, but little ripples. We are those ripples. No depth, just surface activity based on situations, circumstances, stimuli. Because the wind was blowing, so there were some ripples on the surface. That ripple is a human being. No depth. Forget about living completely. We can't even. So in this Narcissus and Goldmund, when Goldmund is dying, Narcissus comes to him, and Goldmund has been at the other end of the spectrum compared to Narcissus. One with Prakriti, dealing with life as it comes, dealing with one woman after the other continuously. And as he's about to die, he says that all the women who have been in his life, they finally come together to take the shape of his mother. And the mother who gave birth to him now takes the shape of Mother Death. And this Mother Death is now coming to him, and with her claws, she is pulling his heart out of his body. And he is experiencing all this, and Narcissus is standing by his side, and Narcissus says, you could have lived the life I did. Narcissus is a scholar. Narcissus is a scholar, and he stayed away from all these things and indulgences. He just stayed on the scholarly, rather monastic path. And Goldman took the totally opposite route. And on that route, he is now facing death as a young person. So there is this description. There is this sentence. The description that I have said might not be exact. You do well to refer the original text. But the line that he says is, yes, I am dying. Yes, I am dying. But at least I can die completely. I'm dying, but at least I can die completely. You can't even die completely. That's the problem with ego. Not that we are endorsing the Goldman position here. But the thing is, there is no completeness in anything about the ego. Because depth or completeness simply mean the disappearance of the ego itself. So it will do everything halfway through. Everything in a controlled, limited way, lukewarm way. Thoda thoda. Yes, go out but return in time. Yes, dive but don't dive deep. Yes, have friends but respect boundaries. Have you heard all this as folk wisdom? Good fences make good neighbors. Why? What's the problem with dissolving totally? What's the problem in total union with someone who's deserving enough? What's the problem? The problem is total union means no more differences in centers, and that's death to the ego. Do you get this? You don't need to get this. That's how we live. You only have to reflect. There is nothing new in this to know. This is life. This is right symbol for the middle class life. What? Thoda thoda. And then glorify it as virtue and moderation. You must be moderated in whatever you do. Avoid extremes. Balanced. And how to extract revenge from the Buddha? Say, this is what the Buddha also said, Madhyam Marg. Conserve yourself just to finally assign yourself to the fire. What kind of inefficient investment is this? To keep saving, and then throw it all to the fire or the grave. What did you save it for? The pyre, the fire, the tomb. Well saved. Well saved. Like a cricketer needing a few runs of the last over, but ending up saving his wicket well and delighting in the fact that finally he could save his. You saved your wicket but lost the. You should have rather gone all out and maybe lost your wicket in the process. Possible. The ego will never go all out. The ego is shit scared of commitment. It cannot commit itself. It can have deals, alliances, agreements, but it cannot have commitment. Simple. With objects, commitments are anyway not possible. With other people having similar egos, commitment is anyway not possible. What you at max have with them? Agreements, deals, contracts. So the ego is a good deal maker. It enters into all kinds of contracts. Commitment is another thing altogether. Commitment is possible only to something high, at least higher than yourself. You can be committed to what you can call as the sky. You can sneeze. The general won't mind. The ego will never tolerate commitment. Yes, when it comes to something or somebody at your own level, you will be quick to embrace. You will say family, of my kind, my level, my folk, my breed, my species, my reflection. That's fine. But commitment is never. Who is it? What's wrong? The general does mind. We do not mind what the body does, but we do mind what the. You get this? Deals are with somebody at your own level. Commitment is possible only to. That's why when you demand commitment from your husband or wife or kids or boyfriend or girlfriend, you are demanding something impossible. Even if that person wants to, he or she cannot be committed. The problem is structural. With somebody at your own level or at a level lower than you, you can have at most a deal, an exchange. A limited agreement of providing each other some kind of assurance or service. That much is possible. But if you want commitment, which in popular words is called loyalty, you are demanding the impossible. Your husband or wife cannot be committed to you. It's impossible. Therefore, don't be heartbroken. And don't try to break into his or her phone. It's already certain what you will find there. So let the drama continue. Why unnecessarily expose things and let the filth be out in the open? If your life depends on deception, let the deception continue. Why turn the detective, the explorer? My dear Watson, I know how to crack the password. And then you cannot stand what's beneath the password and say, oh my God, now I know why he's awake all night and doing some stuff with his phone. Why does that surprise you? That's a given. Commitment is impossible. The ego cannot stand commitment. But the ego wants commitment from other egos. What kind of duplicity? Huh? Commitment is possible only to the peaks. Commitment is possible only to something beyond yourself. Commitment is possible only something so much bigger than yourself that it totally absorbs you. The stuff has to be so big, so grand that it can subsume you. You can dissolve in it without trace. And then, by definition, some commitment is possible. Do you get this? So even in relationships, the engagement is always limited and only that can sustain the relationship. If in relationships the engagement goes deeper, the relationship will break. You say relationships break because they were not deep enough? False. Or only partially true, rather. If relationships go deep enough from either side, they will again fracture. What do you think? You can sustain a relationship with a Krishna? Impossible. You'll have a breakup the third day. And you will abuse him no end. The fellow knows no limits. The fellow knows no decency, no common sense. He is getting into places one is not supposed to, psychologically. He's trying to get right to my center. No, this is not the kind of love I bargained for. No. Love has to be on the skin. All right, please caress me, fondle me, touch me, please me. But this fellow was getting right into my psychological center. Now that is a place I can't grant access to anybody. Break up, run away. He's not a lover, he's a killer. He'll destroy me. So be modest. Don't complain that your partner or your friend or your parents or your kids are not engaging with you too deeply. The fact is the relationship has come so far, continued so far, only because they are not engaging with you deeply. The day they actually start engaging deeply with you, the relationship would be no more. Do you get this? And that's why our mantra is maintain a safe distance. It is distances that sustain our relationship. What a pity. What a pity. It is distances that sustain our relationships with anything. You buy the biggest car possible. You sit in it 40 hours straight. You'll scrap the car, throw it into some abyss. Distances are needed. So 3 hours in the car and then 10 hours away from it. And then again 3 hours in the car and 10 hours away from it. That's why it feels great to go to your place at Holi. Delhi is choked. The highways are jammed. No seats on the trains, and people are riding buses and paying exorbitant fares. They need to get to their place. Why? Because the last time they visited their place was Diwali last year, or the New Year or something. Now the distance, the length of separation is what is creating this pull towards the hometown. Nothing more than that. After 3-4 days, they'll feel like coming back. And then the routes will be jammed on the opposite side. Everybody is rushing back home. Can't tolerate the old man. 3 days is enough. This is not ego as theory. This is ego as lived middle class experience. And this, mostly it is not the body. Now we know what the body is. The body is an innocent machine. Everything is innocent. Thought is innocent. Feeling is innocent. Breath is innocent. Brain is innocent. Body is innocent. Everything is innocent. The ego hijacks the body. The ego hijacks feelings. The ego hijacks everything to sustain itself. Hijacks and distorts. Sleep too is innocent, but as we talked of it that day, no, we didn't talk of it. It was that video, Moony Nights. Even something as innocent as sleep is hijacked by the ego. It's very, very interesting. And in today's story, something as innocent as death would be hijacked by the ego. The ego cannot just make you sleep. The story shows the ego can make you sleep permanently. The man actually. And it's not the body that chose to die. It was ego that chose to kill the body. That's what the ego can do. Remember, the ego is immaterial, but it has great material consequences. To protect itself, to avoid seeing the sight of its own destruction, the ego can even kill the body. And that's what suicide too is. The body was not suffering, the ego was suffering. But the ego chose to kill the body. Who should have been killed? The ego. But the ego, instead of killing itself, chose to kill the body. The ego said, no. Killing myself is ruled out. But suffering is unbearable. So I would rather kill the body. Getting it? We are carrying a monster within called. What's your name?
Raghu.
What's the name of the monster?
Raghu.
Trying to objectify the ego. What's your name? No, I'm not getting into philosophical complexities. What's your simple, direct, official name? Huh?
Raghu.
What's the name of the monster?
Raghu.
No. He is Raghuvar, but the name of the monster is ego. Do you see what the ego is doing? Creating two, so that one can be killed and even then the other may remain. The name of the monster is ego. The name of the monster is not Raghuvar. So Raghuvar would kill the ego and Raghuvar remains. And the ego smiles. What's your name?
Raghu.
What's the name of the monster?
Raghu.
Don't create this subject-object split. This is self-deception. You are the monster. Don't give it another name. Otherwise, you'll create two and happily kill one. And in the one that remains, the ego remains. Do you get this? So what do I do with my ego? What's wrong with this question? My ego. As if you and the ego are separate. Classic error. Objectifying the ego. The ego is not the object. The ego is the subject. He began to be tormented by uneasiness. During the interval, he went up to Brizalov, walked beside him, and plucking up courage, muttered, "I spattered you, Your Excellency, forgive me, I didn't mean." The old general probably wants to not just forgive, but actually forget. He's there to enjoy the opera and not gather excuses. He's being irritated. "Oh, that's enough. I had forgotten it. And you keep on about the same thing," said the general and moved away. The general is not interested in the apology. Look at the response. Had forgotten? He says he had forgotten. But there was a fiendish gleam in his eye. I cannot see myself. This eye cannot look at itself, but this eye can look at the fiendish gleam in the other's eye. And this eye has no capacity to look at, but the eye is confident in its claim that it can read the other's eye. Obviously. Are you often not sure you have read the intentions of the other? Please tell me. I was just asking. It was visible from his face. He's a rascal. Mama, see how he's looking at me. Mama, see, he's again looking at me. Hostel days, we used to say, उसने भी तेरे को देखा. And you would actually feel convinced. इसने कभी खुद को नहीं देखा. उसको क्या पता कि उसको किसने देखा. You get this? There was a fiendish gleam in his eyes, thought Chervikov, looking suspiciously after him. And he won't speak because he is not speaking about it, because he is trying to bury the matter. It proves there is something cooking. His silence is actually more dangerous than any abuses or complaints he might have uttered. And he won't speak. I ought to explain to him that I didn't in the least, that it's a law of nature, or else he'll think that I wanted to spit on him. If he doesn't think so now, he will later. Even if there is a chance that the fellow, the general, is right now not bothered, maybe later on he'll develop a grudge. And because he is the general, he'll kill me. Because you see what he is doing. You have to be afraid of the general so that you can convince yourself that you are the petty clerk. Duality. Duality. Without acknowledging the other as colossal, how would you identify with pettiness? Duality. I can be small only in relation to somebody, right? When you say I am small, I am petty, oh, I am just a clerk. You are small compared to what? So there has to be a general to be afraid of. Without a general to be afraid of, you cannot sustain your petty identity. For the ego to feel small, it has to construct somebody big outside of itself. Now you see where the concepts of Lok Dharmik God come from. Duality. For me to remain irresponsible and small, I have to create a superpower outside of myself. In the story, it is the general. In popular culture, it is God. By creating a massive power out there, I give myself the license to remain mean in here. He is big, I'm small. He is big in relation to me. I'm small in relation to duality. Now you know why non-duality can be the only religion possible. Why Aham Brahmasmi is not just another religious utterance. Why truth is God is dimensionally away from God is truth. Why, if you have to utter the word God, God has to be situated in here as the non-dual truth itself. Otherwise, any notion of God as an entity outside of you is just another project of the ego. And now you see why this dualistic concept of God has brought this planet to the stage where it is. Now you know why we are so irresponsible, because all the responsibility vests in God. So I can bomb a country, I can kill its premier, I can hack down all the forests, I can act as childishly, as irresponsibly as a 5-year-old in spite of being the president of the most powerful nation on the planet. I can still be very childish because all the responsibility lies with. I might be 80-year-old, but I'm still childish. How can you be responsible when in your own eyes you are small and petty and somebody else's at somebody else's mercy? He made me, he controls me, I am the puppet. How can you be responsible now? Do you get this? When he reached home, Shervikov told his wife of his breach of etiquette. Now the wife comes in. Who is the wife? An object in one's life. The wife obviously has been chosen by this person. So wife is a chosen object. And it's a Western society, the Russian society. So if the wife has held on so far, it's by choice, right? Else the two would have separated, and divorces are common. The fellow doesn't exactly seem to be young either. So the wife is a chosen object this fellow has preferred to continue with. What do objects in your life represent? You. So the advice the wife will render will not be much different from what he is already thinking, because the wife herself is a chosen object. How can the wife give her something that he is not already? Do you get this? So seeking advice from those around you is futile. They'll just reflect what you already are. You will be just hearing yourself out over and over again in an echo chamber. And you'll say, but I took advice and feedback from so many people, and there was a general consensus. So you don't need advice from 10 images of yours. You don't need opinions from 1,000 people who are chosen by you. You just need to look at a Buddha and see whether he nods. And that's enough. Instead of gathering opinions of these 1,000 people, rather just look at one, and see whether he nods. That's all. You don't need anything beyond that. That day we were talking of the field, right? We said you are one person while you are here. The moment you step out, you are somebody else, right? Right now you do something here and you see that you are answerable. You know you are being watched from this stage, right? You know there are eyes here looking at you, looking into you. You know that, right? Why don't you carry these eyes back? Why don't you carry the field along with you as you return? Why don't you keep checking? Would the eyes approve? Would the field consent? Here you cannot avoid the eyes because the thing is physical. You are physically present, and so is the person on the stage. So you can't avoid being known, being seen. You will be seen. Be honest enough to carry the eyes back. Remain seen all the time. Live as if you are being seen. Now that's dangerous, but that's responsible and honest. Live as if you are being, just as you are being seen this moment. Just as you are being seen this moment. Live as if you are being continuously seen. And ask yourself, would the field approve? Would the field approve? Had he been here this moment, what would he say? If he comes to know of it, how would it be? And then you will find all your excuses have fallen. Then you won't say, oh, Acharya Ji, when we go out, then we sleep and the world dominates and we don't know what to do. Because you go out all by yourself. Carry me along with you. Carry me along with you, and then we'll see how the world dominates. But if you carry me along with you, you'll be seen. I don't sleep. I'll keep looking. And that's a danger. That's why you leave me here and return to your holes. Right? I'll save you from all the danger outside. But I also save you from the danger inside you. And you don't want to be saved from that. You only want to be saved from external trouble. You don't want to be saved from internal trouble, because this internal trouble you call as dear trouble. Lovely trouble. Darling trouble. You take me along with you and I'll save you from darling trouble also. No, I can't be selective. I can't save you just from the outsiders. I'll also save you from the inside. And that's why you will never take me along with you. The darling trouble is more of a darling than truth ever is, right? You'll never say, oh, cho-chweet to the truth, would you? Truth is never referred to as cho-chweet. That's the problem. You will maintain a respectful distance with the truth. And in your inner hierarchy, cho-chweet will always be on top. That's the trouble. The one limitation with truth is, however hard it tries, it can never be cho-chweet. In another sense, it is already cho-chweet. The experience of sweetness depends on the experiencer. If you are feverish, everything appears a little bitter, a little distasteful, doesn't it? Doesn't it? And that's why Sri Krishna tells you to go Vigata Jwar. Because as long as you are feverish, truth will never be cho-chweet. So you will come, you will engage, and then you will respectfully bow and depart. Cho-chweet. So our man has now gone to his cho-chweet. And what does cho-chweet say? You had better go and apologize all the same, or he will think you don't know how to behave in public. No disruption, no discontinuity. No reflection, no truth. Just an extension of the already existing thought that the man has. And that's to be expected because the woman herself is an extension of the man. The object is an extension of the woman you choose is an extension of what you already are. And vice versa, obviously. Provided there is a choice. That's why there is not much that this so-called love affair or love marriage can bring to your life. Even though in some sense it is much better than the traditional arranged system. But still, the one you call as your chosen partner has been chosen by but you. Therefore, there is nothing radical that's going to be introduced in your life. So what is the wife telling him? Much the same that he is already. And were the wife capable of telling him something radically new, she wouldn't have been around. The relationship would have already ended. The fact the relationship has sustained for 20, 30 years, whatever, is because the wife has always been telling him what he is already thinking. And vice versa. Ditto the other side. The wife thinks something, and if the wife comes for advice, she finds the man is much the same thing or a version of it or some, but from the same center. Maybe a different thing, but still from the same center. There's an enemy out there. The husband proposes to attack him from the right. The wife says, no, you're an idiot. I'll tell you the opposite thing. You must attack him from the left. It appears the wife is giving contrarian advice, but it is not contrarian. It's the same thing. She is still saying that the attack is necessary. And the man outside is the enemy. Do you get this? So he replies, that's just it. I did apologize, but he behaved somehow strangely. The projective power of the ego, Vikshep Shakti. Projective power. The man, the general, was behaving absolutely simply. In fact, towards the end he was annoyed. Don't pester me. Let me enjoy the show. All right, you did cough and sneeze and whatever, but that's fine. I mean, don't even want to remember that. Getting it? But he perceives that the general behaved strangely. That's called the projective power of the ego. You will see what you want to see. You will see what is conducive to your ego identity. It is beyond the ego to see the truth. Forget the truth. It is beyond the ego to acknowledge even plain facts. The ego will project endlessly because its first priority is not facts but preservation, self-preservation and self-continuity. What does the ego have to do with facts? The ego is such a fearful thing. It's not rushing after facts, it's rushing after self-preservation. Can I survive? Can I be secure? That's the first priority. When that's the first priority, who cares of facts? So the facts are ignored and castles are built on thin air. It's an existential imperative. The ego will have to live in imaginations. The ego isn't erring by imagining. Imagination is ego's life stuff. In fact, it's an exception, an anomaly, when the ego can come in touch with facts. It's a rarity. Facts threaten the ego. The default is the ego will just imagine. Everything is imagined. There is no reality in the world of the ego. It's an imagined universe. He behaved somehow strangely. There was not a word of sense in it. Oh, what the general uttered was so cryptic, not just cryptic, mystic, beyond ordinary sense. Look at the perception. There was not a word of sense in it. The general was saying something absolutely extraordinary, beyond human exclamation. Objectively, you can see that the general was not even interested. But subjectively, what does the ego perceive? Oh, there is something more to it. Something cooking, something deeper, something invisible, something lurking in the dark, only to attack later. The general is big and powerful. He will extract revenge. And I have evidence. Look at his words. They made no sense. They made no sense. So the ego is adept at cooking up evidence also. Somehow it has to justify its own conclusions to itself. So it will say, I have evidence. What is the evidence? I saw a fiendish gleam in his eye. That's the evidence. Don't you think he is walking a little abnormally? I mean, only with 2 legs. I have evidence. The fellow means evil. He is walking only with 2 legs. That's so abnormal. No, you are just making it all up. There is nothing there. But you have no sensitivity. You don't empathize with me. You don't care for me. Therefore, you can't see the imminent danger. See, once again, only 2 legs. But that requires love, and you never loved me now. I know you never loved me. And it's only gotten worse since you joined that bloody Acharya and his... Come clean, please. You don't love me now. Just one thing. पहले जैसे हो जाओ. How many of you have heard that since joining the Gita course? पहले जैसे हो जाओ, please. हो मत जाना भाई. वैसे हो भी नहीं पाओगे. Impossible. Impossible. It's not just knowledge. The hardwiring changes. You cannot reverse it. You do not remain the same person. Once I said the face changes, the eyes change. Obviously, the neuronic connections in the brain, they too have changed. Even if you want to, you cannot set the clock back now. It's beyond you now. Ha ha ha. The ego is a product of the physical structure, right? And when the ego is continuously seen, the physical structure itself changes. How else will the ego dissolve without a change in the physical structure? If the ego arises physiologically, how can the ego dissolve without the physiology changing at all? Your physiology has changed. The body has changed. As simple as that. Not that you have 6 fingers now, but subtle rewiring has happened. No, it's not even rewiring. It's just a disruption of the old connections, old and needless connections. All the nonsense that existed here as stuff in the brain, as random connections in the brain, all that has been disrupted. And you cannot reconnect it anymore. You can't do that. But you never took our permission. You entered the place and did something nasty here without even taking consent. I'm sorry. But that's been done and dusted. Even I can't reverse that now. And the funny thing is, even as I speak to you about all this, it is still being done. My job is just to ensure that by the time you decide to finally reverse it, it is too late for you to reverse it. Because that's the ego's dream. One day, I'll take a U-turn. I want you to cross all the U-turns. At least the frequency of those opportunities must have reduced for you now. If you were meeting a U-turn every 500 meters, now you will be meeting it every 50 kilometers. Even if you want to run away, it's becoming difficult. If you want to run away, do that now. This is your moment. This is the time and the place. Get up and I'm being honest. The longer you stay, the impossible it becomes. भागना. ठीक है. तुम्हें मरना है तो मरो. मैं ये मत कहना मैंने बताया नहीं था. Then there was no time to talk properly. This has been composed by a master of psychology. There was no time to talk properly. Assume there was time to talk. What would that time be used for? To create more nonsense and to annoy the general even more. So if you have time, you will annoy the general more, and that will convince you that the general is actually annoyed. And if you don't have time, you will say, something sinister is cooking, It's just that because of shortage of time, I couldn't uncover it. There was no time. The thing is, time or no time, you're trying the same thing. If you get time, you will execute it. If you do not get time, you will imagine it. Facts don't matter. When it comes to the ego, facts don't matter at all. Ego simply means stories, narratives. Next day, Shervakov put on a new uniform, had his hair cut, and went to Brizalov's to explain. Going into the general's reception room, he saw there a number of petitioners, and among them the general himself, who had already begun receiving petitions. After questioning several petitioners, the general raised his eyes to Shervakov. Yesterday, in the Arcadia, if you recollect, Your Excellency, the letter began, I sneezed and inadvertently spattered, forgive. What nonsense! God knows what. What can I do for you? Said the general, and turned to the next petitioner. That's not the right way, thought Shervikov, turning pale. He won't speak. He won't speak. No, not speaking can mean the matter is of no value, or not speaking can mean something is being hidden. What's the meaning the ego would pick? The second one. Because the second meaning sustains the ego. What if the ego has to accept that the matter is of no consequence? If the matter is of no consequence, then the relationship, the hierarchical relationship between the two is also of no consequence. Then the identity focused, centered on the pettiness of the clerk has to dissolve. You see, understand how it runs psychologically. I'm small. I'm small. That's my definition. If I'm small, he is big. And I spat on him. I spat on him. I'm small, he is big. So he is supposed to take offense. He's supposed to take offense. And if that happens, that justifies the whole imagined structure, right? He's supposed to take offense. Now, what happens if it is revealed that the fellow is not taking offense? If he's not taking offense, that means he is not caring for the hierarchy, right? If he's not taking offense, then he is. If he's not caring for the hierarchy, then he's not big. If he's not big, then you are not. If you're not small, then you cannot be irresponsible. So for you to remain irresponsible, it is necessary that the fellow feels insulted. And this chap is trying his best to ensure that the general does feel insulted. You get the train of causality? If he is not feeling insulted, that means he is not taking himself to be big. Right? If he is not feeling insulted, then he is not taking himself to be big. If he is not big, then you are not. If you are not small, then you cannot remain irresponsible. And that's what the ego dreads, responsibility. That's why the ego has to imagine that the fellow felt offended or insulted or angered. And if he actually didn't feel angered, then it has to be imagined that he stands angered. Do you get this? What you are thinking is not necessary to be thought, but what you are thinking is necessary for the egoic structure to stand. Your thoughts have very little to do with facts. Your thoughts have much more to do with the ego. Because the ego has hijacked thought. The ego uses thought for its own continuity. You don't think. You don't just think. Thought can be an innocent activity of the brain. Just as breathing is an activity of the lungs. Just as pumping is an activity of the heart. Similarly, thinking is an activity of the brain. But the ego hijacks everything. The ego hijacks thought. A lot of spiritual masters will tell you thought is a problem, thought does this, thought does that, thought creates the self. Nonsense. Thought doesn't create the self. Thought doesn't create the self. There's a thought creates an illusion called the self. But for an illusion to be created, there must be somebody to be deluded, right? If there is nobody, to whom is the illusion? If there is nobody, to whom is the illusion? So thought does not create any illusion. The self, the ego self, pre-exists thought because it is biological. It exists even at birth. It exists before thought. Thought does not create ego. In fact, thought as we know it requires language. Thought does not create ego. The fetus may have nothing, but it still has a sense of self, I amness, that the fetus too has. Prick the fetus and it reacts. Forget thought, it doesn't have even properly developed instincts, but it still has I amness. And that's why abortion is debated so fiercely. Not because the fetus has thought, but because the fetus has I amness. Therefore you say, it is alive, don't kill it. Thought does not exist there. Feelings too are very, very underdeveloped. But the I amness still exists. Do you get this? And it is this I amness that appropriates, dominates everything possible just to cover its own fundamental lie. And why is thought so necessary to be captured of all the things about this physical equipment? The ego loves to capture thought first of all. Why? Because thought has the capacity to look at objects, right? You think about something, don't you? You always think about something. So thought has the capacity to look at the thinker also. And that would be deadly for the ego. Before thought turns inward and starts looking at the thinker, let's go and hijack thought. Let's arrest thought before thought turns rogue. And thought is arrested by the ego. Thought already has the biological tendency to look, and the ego ensures that it looks just and only and unexceptionally outside, exclusively outside. Thought is in fact the biggest threat to ego. That's why thought is the ego's preferred target. Before the ego captures anything else about you, it will capture your thought. You will think in the egoic way before you act in the egoic way. Before anything else happens, you will find thought has been kidnapped. Thought is no longer free. And that's also the definition of free thought, thought free of the ego. When people say we are free thinkers, they are just being grandiose. Free thinking is not about thinking about anything in the world. They say, we can think about anything in the world. We are free. No, free thinking is thought free of the egoic center. That's what is called as free thought. A lot of these free thinkers are just captives of their own egos. They are not free thinkers at all. Are you getting this? He won't speak. That means he is angry. No, it can't be left like this. I will explain to him. So if he speaks, it's proven he is angry. If he doesn't speak, it is imagined that he is angry. But for the sustenance of my ego identity, it is necessary that I assert that he is angry. When the general had finished his interview with the last petitioner and was going into his private apartments, Shervikov stepped up to him and muttered, "Your Excellency, if I venture to trouble Your Excellency, it is simply from a feeling of repentance. It was not intentional, Your Excellency. You know yourself." This is not somebody else's story. The ego makes things happen. The ego, self-fulfilling prophecies. It imagines and then fructifies the imagination. And fructification of the imagination is taken as proof of the validity of the imagination. You see that truck coming from the other side and you are riding your scooty. You know that truck coming from the other side, he means harm. He means harm. I can see that in his eyes. It's just around 400 meters away. I can clearly see it in his eyes. He means harm. And before he hits me, I'll take evasive action. So what do? I take my scooty off the road into the rough and roll over. And then I get up and say, "See, I already knew he meant harm. Didn't I already say? Didn't I know? Didn't I tell? He meant. See what he has done." In fact, I could smell he was drunk. The fellow is 400 meters there, in the cabin of the truck. And he can see, or she can see, that his eyes are evil. He is drunk. And lots more. There is a mole on his chest. And my astrologer told me such people are definitely evil. And that she can see from 400 meters. And therefore she took the scooty off-road. Unfortunately, the truck driver saw that in his rear view mirror. What? The toppling and tumbling of the scooty. So now the poor fellow takes a U-turn. And she says, look, I knew. He won't spare me even after the fall. He is coming now to crush me under the wheels. Huge truck. And the truck comes, and not only does it come, it actually stops by the scooty. And what's happening to her? Shivering, pounding and palpitations. And with the bruised knee, she starts to run. And the truck driver can see that she is wounded. So what does he do? He follows her. And now it stands absolutely established. The fellow is out to commit a heinous crime in broad daylight. Run faster. Runs faster and falls. And falls and goes half faint. She is unconscious. Semi-unconscious. The truck driver approaches. Says she will die. So he gets down and lifts her up. And now the matter stands beyond any doubt. This is not just kidnapping, he is a rapist. And I already knew. He picks her up and takes her to the truck. This is a classic crime scene. And you can extend this to, as we all do. You get this? This is not about Chervikov. This is our story. How we superimpose our intents on others' actions. How we superimpose our intent on others' actions. The general made a tearful face and waved his hand. The general is not just fed up. He is actually sorry. Saying, can you please spare me? He's not even saying anything now, just saying, go. And what does the general say now? You are simply making fun of me, sir. He doesn't even say you are insulting me. He says, now you are making fun of me, and disappeared behind the door. What sort of making fun? Thought Chervikov. There is no making fun in it. He's a general, but he cannot understand. When that is so, I won't apologize to that. What's this word? I don't know the meaning of this. Of that fanfaron anymore. The devil take him. I'll write him a letter. But I won't go. By Joe, I won't. So thought Chervikov as he walked home. He did not write the letter to the general. He thought and could not think how to write that letter. He had to go next day himself to explain. I have come to trouble your excellency, he began, when the general looked inquiringly at him, to beg forgiveness once more. I sneezed. As I had the honor of informing your excellency, I didn't mean to. Get out, yelled the general, suddenly turning purple and shaking all over. What? asked Shervikov in a whisper, faint with terror. "Get out," repeated the general, stamping his foot. And he's a general, probably a big fat man. Something snapped in Shervikov's stomach. Seeing nothing and hearing nothing, he backed towards the door, went out, and walked along the street. Reaching home mechanically, without taking off his uniform, he lay down on the sofa and died. Life. Cycle. Completed. The middle class life meets its usual end. Meaningless life. Meaningless death. Even death is boring. Seen how bored most people are at funeral processions? Been there and felt bored? Some 5, 10 or something. Central performers will be there, beating their chests and wailing and shedding tears, and all that continues for 30 to 60 minutes. And after that, everybody is bored. Just waiting for the body to be fully incinerated. And that full incineration takes more time than one can cheerfully stand. So one starts feeling bored even of death. What's the time? When will this thing be fully burnt? Hello, old man, can you do it a bit faster? No, you are gone, but we still have lives to get on with. Can you be a little quicker? That we may leave. It's the heart that's refusing to burn. Can somebody finally break that? Nothing there. Nothing. What did you live for? Nothing. What did you die for? Nothing. Nothing. Giant meaninglessness. Absurd life. What happened? Somebody died. Oh, fine. What happened? Somebody died. Okay. Okay. Finished for this. And this is no exaggeration. This is no exception. This is the way we all die. Very few people meet what can be called as a purely natural or biological death. What are all these heart diseases about? What are all these lifestyle disorders about? What is diabetes about? What is hypertension about? Most of these diseases, including cancer, are psychosomatic, which means it's not the body that's deciding to die, it's the ego that's forcing the body to die. Just like here in the story. The body is built to last 90, 100 years, even 120 years sometimes. And in animals, you do not see that kind of variation. Somebody is falling to a heart attack at 35. That doesn't happen usually with animals. Because animals have just the body. Human beings have an ego overpowering the body. So if animals are expected, some species is expected to live for 10 years, more or less it would live for 10 years. The variation around the mean would not be too much. But in human beings, the variation is huge. Somebody decides to just blow himself up at the age of 25. I am devoted to a cause. I am devoted to an ideology. Has the body decided to die? The ego has forced the body to die. The entire life you were in a bad job, in a bad locality, in a bad lifestyle, in a bad relationship. And then at 58, you get a stroke. You live on for next 20 years, paralyzed. Has the body done this to itself? No. The ego was gathering stress since last 30 years. And that's what resulted in the stroke at the age of 58. And the fellow doesn't even immediately die. He continues for 2 more decades. And think of the life in those last 20 years. Lying on bed, unable to move, can't remember much, can't think properly, can't speak properly, dependent. Who did that? Prakriti? Not really. Not really. The ego. Just as the ego kills everything for its survival, similarly the ego kills its own body too for its survival. Remove the ego, and most hospitals would run out of business. Because it's not the body that's the patient. The ego is the patient, real patient. And that's the problem with the medical system. The ego is the patient, but the body is treated. The ego is the patient, but the one treated is the body. Where did the cancer come from? Not much of it is purely biological, though there are genetic reasons. Yes, we know that. The major cause is the ego, a lifestyle, what you choose to eat, your work environment, the air, water, everything. Thoughts, feelings. That's cancer. In this case, it is very dramatic, therefore very obvious. Somebody dies of cancer at 55 or 75. It won't be very obvious that Chekhov's story has been reenacted, right? You will say it's a natural death. No, that's not a natural death. That's egoic death. The wife is burnt for dowry. You will say somebody killed her. Or the wife kills the husband. Again, you will say, you see, marital discord has resulted in this. But both the wife and the husband, the wife gets some kind of cancer, the husband gets heart disease. One dies at 45, one dies at 48. You will not realize they have killed each other. No FIR would be launched. The body does not require the kind of food we eat, does it? In fact, the body hates it. But the ego loves it. We are the only species where it's not the body that eats, it's the ego that eats. And we die. And then we say it's a natural death. No, it's not natural death. You died of what you ate. And what you ate was not natural at all. How is it a natural death? If somebody takes poison to die, do you call it natural death? If somebody feasts on saturated fats and carbs and all kinds of nonsense for 10 years and dies, how is that person not dying of poison? This is suicide. The ego is not even the body. The ego is the destroyer of the body. When we begin the spiritual journey, we say we have to get out of this thing, aham dehasmi. The problem is deeper than aham dehasmi. The problem is the ego will not even say I am the body. The ego says I am the owner, the controller of the body. And that's a more factual position. The ego actually takes itself as the owner, controller of body, thought, arms, legs, feelings, tears, laughter, everything about the body, food. The ego takes itself as the owner of everything, the decider of everything. So if this body wants to naturally protect itself, then this body should avoid the ego. The biggest enemy of the body is the ego. When the body touches, for example, a hot plate, the body doesn't have to consult the ego, right? What does it do? It just withdraws. Right? Similarly, the ego has to be taken as a hot plate. The ego is actually more dangerous than the hot plate to the body. The moment the body detects the ego, it should just flinch. Why does the ego jerk? Why does the body jerk itself away from the hot plate? Because the plate is dangerous to the body. Similarly, the ego is very dangerous to the body. It will make you die. Hmm? You are on your bike and standing at a traffic signal, and some large vehicle suddenly throws a lot of exhaust at your face. What do? You turn your face away. Or you, right? You don't have to consult some master within before doing that. Do you consult somebody? No. That's the natural defense of the body. Similarly, the moment you smell ego, just for the sake of protection of the body.
Right now, I'm in US. I'm basically from Assam. I have a question of related to this story uh, that he was feeling guilt from inside, and he was asking for a validation uh, from others, right? But is it something called self-forgiving exists? He could have forgive himself because in some popular religion, there is something called confession box and express your guilt, and the priest said like, okay, God is merciful. That kind of self-forgiving it exists.
No, it's a good phrase, self forgiveness, but it essentially means only self dissolution. The only way the ego can forgive itself is by getting rid of the fundamental guilt. The fundamental guilt of the error is that it exists. How else do you forgive an error? You remember my favorite 2 plus 2, 5. So you wrote 2 plus 2, 5. How do you forgive it? By erasing it. So that's the only forgiveness possible. Do not remain who you are. As long as 2 plus 2 equals 5 remains, all forgiveness is pointless. The ego remaining yet repenting is just self-deception, right? I remain and yet I confess and bow and kneel and repent. All that is just optics. Nice, comfortable visuals. See how the fellow is repenting. Oh, he is really remorseful. So if that thing means clear acknowledgement of one's own needlessness, then it's fine. Otherwise, standing in the confession dock and muttering something to a religious authority won't help you come clean. The ego is the first sin. If you're talking of Christianity, the word sin and the word repentance, these are very central there. The first sin is the ego itself. And as long as that remains, that fundamental assertion of separation, as long as that remains, you cannot come clean. You cannot absolve yourself of guilt. It's not your actions that turn you a sinner. The actor itself is the sin. You cannot say, I have come here to confess my guilt in such and such case. I stole something from the neighbor. so I'm a sinner. It's not the act that's the sin. It's the actor. The sinner is the sin. One has to therefore be clear of the Lokdharmik proposition here, where they say, as Gandhi ji said, पापी नहीं, पाप से घृणा करो. No, sir. You're a good leader. You're a very moral person. You are respectable. But spiritually, no, sir. There's a problem. पापी पर ही ध्यान देना है. वही पाप है, और जब तक वो है और पाप होते रहेंगे. Organized religion turns your digressions into episodes. It will say the fellow is fine, just episodically he deviates from the line. So the ego very comfortably gets to retain its line, its fundamental position, because that is endorsed by Lokdharm. You are all right. It's just that on the 13th of January, you acted in a sinful way. Otherwise, you are a perfectly respectable man. So you'll have to repent. Not for being who you are, but for doing what you did on the 13th of January. That's Lokdharm. No, the 13th of January only exposed who you are. You should be grateful to that date. But you'll say, no. That's the date you should mark in black. Something evil happened on that date. No, something evil was exposed on that date. Yes, you need probably to feel guilty. You need to accept the guilt. Not for the act, but for the actor. The tactic of all organized religion has been to never look at the actor and operate in the zone of actions, deeds, good deeds, bad deeds, pious deeds, evil deeds, पाप पुण्य, सत्कर्म, दुष्कर्म. All that is an elaborate conspiracy. Lokdharm is no ordinary system. It is the deepest cover of the ego. It hasn't come about by mistake. It's an elaborately and deeply thought through conspiracy. It's a very nuanced system of egoic self-preservation. Doesn't matter whether we are talking of Christianity in this case or any other organized religion, any part of the world. There are hundreds of organized religions, right? The ego has hijacked all of them. All this that you see associated with what we call commonly as religion is not incidental, let alone innocent. There is a plan there. There is a motive there. It has been crafted with purpose. All these rituals, all the things that you find associated with religion, the miracles, the stories, the do's and don'ts, the hierarchies, the layers, the myths, they are not incidental, they are intentional. They arise out of the ego's deep intent to secure itself. Just download the Acharya Prashant app, and there you go to the community section, and you have live testimonials streaming in at the rate of 1 every 5 minutes. I'm seeing lives change in thousands, if not millions, every day in front of my own eyes. We are doing it.
Right.
We have actually done it.
Join the community of more than 2 lakh participants on the Acharya Prashant app. Your first month is completely free. You'll get full access to Gita Mission. On the app, you will get regular live sessions, daily exclusive conversations with Acharya Prashant, access to the vibrant Gita community, wisdom exams, curated news, audiobooks, quotes, and much more. Search Acharya Prashant on Google Play Store or Apple App Store and download now.